Hey guys, CK here. Haven't made a video in a little while, but thought I would make one because I've been playing the new Runescape Dragonwilds and I've been having a lot of fun. But there are a few specific points where I sort of got a little bit stuck and I was looking for a bit of info out on the internet and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I thought I'd just make a bit of a video with a few things that I've learned playing through and hopefully it helps someone else out there. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so my first tip is around resources and the progression of resources. This is slightly less intuitive than some other games of a similar vein, so I want to talk about this a little bit. Now I've hidden my quests as well as most of my map, but as I progress through this video and even just this tip, I'll reveal more, so I just didn't want to have spoilers on the screen straight away. But if and when you get to the point where you don't want more spoilers, obviously just skip ahead to the next tip, or I don't know, close the video I guess. So you'll start off in the Temple Woods and very quickly get to Bramblemead Valley. This whole sort of green area here is what we'll call Zone 1. Zone 1 has Tier 1 and Tier 2 monsters, and only from a crafting perspective in terms of weapons and tools, only really has 3 available resources. They are Ashwood, Stone, and Bone. Bone comes from a variety of monsters, and you also get access fairly quickly to a Bark to Bone spell, which turns a tree into bone. Now, I will make a special mention for Oakwood, which is found in Zone 1, but you can't farm it yet, so I'll come back to that. Now, in terms of the gear that you can craft, we're going to call Tier 1 gear, that's stone. Okay, so I'll be referring to Tier 1 gear, and that means stone gear. So Tier 1 gear, you can get everything in Tier 1, so weapons and tools as well. When you get to Tier 2, which is bone, you can only get, so you can get bone weapons and the bone pickaxe. However, there is no Tier 2 bone logging axe. So the logging axe sort of skips a tier in this sense. This is where it's slightly less intuitive than some other games. Now, as you progress a little bit further, you'll come across the Whispering Swamp. The Whispering Swamp is still a level 2 area, so you only find Tier 1 and 2 monsters, with the exception of the Abyssal Demon, which spawns right here. Now, this isn't the only Abyssal Demon that spawns in the entire game, but I'll get to that a little bit later. It can be quite dangerous though, so avoid this area if you're not ready for the fight, or alternatively, you can look for a tip later on in the video on how to kill it really easily. Now, the Whispering Swamp doesn't really give us access to any new materials in terms of crafting like weapons and armor and tools, but it does give us access to clay ore, or clay, which allows us to build crafting stations that will further our progress later on. So we do still need clay. Once you're through the Whispering Swamp, you'll get access to the Fractured Plains. Fractured Plains gives us access to Tier 3 gear, which is where we are back with the logging axe. You'll skip straight from Tier 1 to Tier 3. Tier 3 gear is made of bronze. Now, bronze is an alloy, so we can't just collect bronze ore. However, we can collect tin ore and copper ore. Tin does seem to be a little bit rarer than copper in my experience, so just keep that in mind and prioritize tin over copper if you are strapped for space or carry weight when you're out and about. And bronze is also where the first sword is available. Before that, it is only blunt weapons and daggers for sharp weapons. Finally, you'll come across the Bloodblight Swamp, where you'll get access to silver and gold ore, which allows us to craft more gear as well. Now, the Bloodblight Swamp is a bit of a dangerous area. You'll need some poison resistance potions so that you don't get poisoned by the natural poison in the air. And it is where the other Abyssal Demon spawns in this area right here. This resources guide also, it refers to the tiers of gears, but keep in mind that there are also recipes that you can find in the world that give better gear, sort of like the Abyssal Whip or the Dragon Shield or the Staff of Light, which is found up here. And this gear is outclassed So this like these tiers of natural sort of gear progression are usually outclassed by those items. Now, I just thought I'd add this in at the end of this tip because I did mention it right at the end of my last section of this tip where I talked about special recipes for better gear. Now, this includes things like the Abyssal Whip, which you'll unlock when you collect the resources from your first kill on the Abyssal Demon. The Staff of Light, which is found, the recipe for which is found over here. You need to interact with a statue. But the statue requires a password that you get from inside the vault. There's a bit inside the vault where you have to sort of jump up onto a high ledge, so look out for that. And then interact with another statue in there, and then go back and give the statue of the wizard up here a password, and he'll give you the recipe for the Staff of Light. We also have the anti-dragon shield. I honestly can't remember where I found this, but it doesn't seem great. It does apparently give you partial protection from dragon breath attacks, but as you can see, the block is equal to a bronze shield, so when I'm actually upgrading to an iron shield or even higher, it's going to be a lot more effective, so we'll see how that works. I do also want to mention things like the Hunter Stag Bow, which has an insane amount of damage, 4.3x arrow damage, as well as a base 43 damage. Comparing that to something like the Oak Longbow, it is considerably more powerful. We also have the Grieving Moon Staff. Now these recipes drop from enemies. So in the Fractured Plains and or the Storm-Touched Highlands, you will have to defeat the archers to get the drop of the bow, the Hunter Stag Bow, and you'll have to defeat the druids, which are like the spellcasters, to get the drop of the staff. The drop itself for the recipe seems to be fairly rare, maybe 1 in 10 to 20. So just keep killing and you'll eventually find it. Okay, my next tip is about gathering resources. There are 2 ways to do this. You can either use tools like the logging axe or the pickaxe, or you can use magic. First, I'll cover using the logging axe. The same sort of basic principle applies to the pickaxe as well. So when I chop down this tree, essentially I want to work so that I'm doing the least amount of chops possible, because you're going to need to chop a lot of wood in this game, right? You're going to need to mine a lot of resources. Some of that is with magic, not all of it's going to be, if you want to be fast. Okay, so I can chop this tree down. This essentially is going to split up into 4 smaller logs, and then chopping the smaller logs is going to give me actual logs that I can pick up, right? Like these ones. So I could chop it here and it'll split off about here into 1 small log, and then three larger logs still joined together in this, but I don't want to do that. I want to chop in the middle, right here, so that it splits in the middle. This is by far more efficient because now I can chop by hitting, and I can sort of stop them with my body from rolling down the hill. Unfortunately, this would be made a lot easier if you could push items around in this game, but unfortunately we can't do that. So I'm going to position myself where I can hit both hitboxes. This applies to mining resources, cutting resources, monsters, whatever's in your swing range. Whatever hitbox is in your swing range, you can hit as many things within your swing range, if that makes sense. So I have 2 logs in my swing range here, so I'm going to hit both of their hitboxes like this, and I'm going to come down here, and oh, I missed the bit there, but I can get 2 there. Now, obviously that's not the perfect run, and you're not going to get the perfect run as like always. This is pretty good, but that's like the most efficient chopping method, like start inside then go outside. The least inefficient way, well, it depends on your logging axe. If you have a logging axe, I think the starting tier 1 and 2 logging axes take 4 hits for each sort of section of the tree. You're gonna, like, inefficiently chopping up a tree, you're going to clock about 28 chops, but with this method, or this like more efficient way, you can cut it down to about 20. So it's about a 30% 30% more efficient. Of course, it's not actually exactly 30% more efficient because you've sort of got to position yourself, and that takes a bit of time. But overall, it's still going to save you probably about 20 to 25% of the time spent, which is considerable in a game like this where you spend a lot of time like gathering resources. Now the other one is with magic, the other way to gather resources. Obviously when you're using a spell like Rock Explosion, you want to position it so that you're getting as many things in that radius as possible. That's pretty basic. Something slightly less intuitive is the astral projection. Obviously you want to see if you can get as many trees lined up as possible, like 3 here. However, these 3 are probably not great because they're quite far apart. What I'm actually going to do is chop here for these 2 and hope that this one falls down so that it's touching that one, because the area of the splinter skill is perfect. If I really want to be efficient here, I might even chop that one down manually and hope that it falls on this pile as well, but I don't need wood that much right now. But the splinter AoE is quite small, so you really want overlapping logs for maximum efficiency. Alright, my next tip is around lodestones. Lodestones are incredibly powerful, and for the power that they give you, also incredibly cheap. They took me a little while though to figure out that I could build them. I think I just wasn't really looking for the pop-up on the right when I picked up my first vault core, which is the main ingredient, or I guess the rarest ingredient you need to build this. However, the rest of the ingredients are incredibly common, like stone and rune essence are just everywhere. So vault cores is really the only gate to building more lodestones. Now, I've got quite a few lodestones over the map at key points. Obviously, this lodestone is default. It's already there when you enter the game, but you can't access it until you build another one. I also have, and it's a bit hard to see because the icons are overlapping, but next to the vaults around here, I've got a lodestone right outside. This is just because it makes it really easy to just go and farm more vault cores, because you enter the vault and every vault seems to have the boss room at the entrance, and you sort of loop around, open the boss room, but once you've done the vault the first time, it stays open. So I can just come in, collect a vault core and leave. They do respawn pretty quickly. Obviously they respawn faster than the monsters. I was here a little while ago, but the vault core has respawned and the monsters haven't yet. So they do respawn sometimes when you're in there, but I can just go straight around, lodestone, lodestone, lodestone here, and you know, maybe I'll even put more at other vaults elsewhere too. They also help you to escape from monsters if you're being hunted by dragons raining down fire or poison, and you know, maybe getting hunted by a warband, or you're in a new area. Like I remember the first time I went to the Fractured Plains, I dropped a waypoint or a lodestone right here, and then I got hunted like straight away when I got over here. You can just use them to escape. It only takes a second to click on another lodestone, and going there is basically free. You can see that it costs lore runes based on the distance traveled. 16 here, 4 here, 14 here, etc. But they are so common that they are basically free. So lodestones are incredibly powerful, get around them. Okay, my next tip is about health and stamina regen. It's not really until you hover over the sustenance and hydration when you've got the inventory open that you even sort of pick up on these. And it's not until you've got the inventory open that you can see your stats here. So each hydration quarter, so this is out of 100 and each quarter is obviously 25. Currently I'm on 20, so I'm in the bottom quarter. Each quarter is worth 1.5 stamina regen, and each quarter of sustenance is worth 0.5 health regen. If I go up to the max tier of health, for example, let's just eat some steaks. So you can see that it's going up by 0.5 for each quarter that I go up. The same with water. Now, if these drop to 0, you will start losing health. However, you can't actually die from this. It'll take you down to 1 health and you'll just stay there. The next tip I have is about building in ghost mode. So ghost mode can be toggled either via the build menu here, or pressing F during the build menu, or when you go to craft something you can press F as well. You can see in the key in the bottom right corner to toggle ghost mode. Ghost mode is really powerful. You can save a lot of time by just toggling ghost mode on and planning out your whole structure. So you can build a whole building, you can build crafting like tables and all sorts of things. Anything in the build menu you can build in ghost mode, and then once you're happy with your structure and how it looks, you can just walk up to any of these structures and you can see it says build E. Because I have the materials, you can see where it says square foundation just above my health. It says 75 of 4 ash logs. Now 4 is because that's what this structure, this square foundation, requires. So if I don't have any of these on me, I can still build in ghost mode and just plan ahead. And then as soon as I go and chop down logs and farm enough, I can come and just add those to this and finalize the build. So it's just a bit faster and nicer than sort of going back and forth and building each time from scratch. The next thing I want to talk about is combat. So in combat we have a couple of options to avoid damage. The first option is block. Block is really powerful, I find, for groups of enemies. It can also be used in a one-on-one combat situation because of the parry function. Now the parry function is initiated when you block, that was not good timing, when you block an attack just before it's made. It can be hard to time, especially on enemies like the Terror Bird. There it is. It also staggers them. Now, it's especially powerful if you are wearing the melee body armor, which gives you bonuses like crit after blocking and damage to staggered targets. Parry does initiate a stagger, and it's particularly powerful on groups of enemies because it has an AoE stagger. So if there's a group of enemies attacking me here, I can stagger one of them with a parry, and that stagger will apply to all of them. For single combat, I like to use the dodge roll. Dodge roll is particularly powerful, especially against enemies that you either don't have enough block power to block or are doing large AoE attacks that can't really be blocked anyway. The dodge roll is really powerful because you get iframes from the dodge roll. So iframes stand for invincibility frames, and it essentially refers to a period of time during our dodge roll where we are invincible, so we can't take damage. So that's what I just did there, and I'll show you some more examples. It's going to launch another thing at me. I can even dodge roll back through it. Like the amount of iframes that this game gives us is quite, I didn't time it very well there, is quite generous compared to other games, but it does still take a little bit of practice to get the timing right, and it does help if you dodge towards an attack. Alright, I also just wanted to add in a quick, easy way to kill the Abyssal Demon, which spawns in the Whispering Swamps. It's a nice, easy way to just get a free early kill and nice power upgrade, as long as you have all the other materials to create the Abyssal Whip. This is, you can see exactly where I am on the map in the Whispering Swamps. There's a ruined structure here you can use Whisper Step to jump up onto, and the Abyssal Demon cannot get up, can't teleport up onto this height, so as long as you have enough arrows, it is a free kill. My last tip in this video is about the aggro range for monsters. So monsters have a certain range within which if they're hit, they'll chase you down and attack you. The longbow can be used to outdistance this range. You can potentially use the short bow as well. I haven't really tried it. I think it'd be a lot harder though. Now obviously I have the oak longbow, which isn't usable until you can get oak wood, which you need ore from the Fractured Plains for. But there is an earlier longbow that you can get, and that is found right here in Bramblemead Valley. There is a cave across a chasm that you have to use Windstep to jump to, and inside you'll find the plans for the Adventurer's Longbow. Now, the range at which aggro is not initiated by monsters is pretty far. I would say that this range on this guy right here is probably about right, but I probably want to back up a tiny little bit more if I want to be sure. Now when you do shoot the longbow, you don't want to obviously shoot it like this. It actually drifts to the right, so I need it to be sort of a little bit further over. So there we go, I've hit him. He sort of goes on alert, but doesn't do anything. So you can use this method to kill anything in the game that I've encountered so far, including the abyssal monster. But there are easier methods to kill the abyssal monster as well. That's it for the video. Thanks again for watching, and if you have any other tips of your own, or if you want to see any other videos, just comment below. If you have any questions about the game, feel free to comment as well, or send me a message. Enjoy!